What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Combat Sports Media YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about, breaking down, and giving out a prediction for the upcoming Ryan Garcia versus Mario Barrios WBC Welterweight World Title fight. Now, this is going to be taking place in Las Vegas, I believe, and it will be televised live on DAZN, if I'm not mistaken. Now, let's get to it. Mario Barrios is about 6 feet tall, 6'1" maybe. Mario is a tall welterweight. He has good fundamentals. He likes to work off the jab usually. However, one of his weaknesses is that he doesn't jab as much as he should oftentimes. Now, sometimes he does, but in some of his other performances, like Keith Thurman, he just wouldn't throw the jab enough times for my liking. So that's something that we have to look out for when it comes to Mario Barrios. And he also tends to give up his height oftentimes during fights. He likes to crouch down to the level of his opponents, who are usually shorter than he is, and he doesn't always take advantage of that reach as well, because of the lack of jabs sometimes. Now, he has a lot of heart, he has a lot of courage, but one of his other weaknesses, in my opinion, is he just doesn't throw enough, or he's too reluctant to take initiative of the fight. He's too content on waiting on his opponent and just being purely a reactionary fighter. You know, there's nothing wrong with counterpunching, but even as if you're a pure counterpuncher, which he's not, you have to take initiative and be first at times to not just score points, but to mix things up. He has a habit in a lot of times falling into the trap of circling the opponent, jabbing, or pawing with the jab, or not jabbing at all, waiting for the opponent to throw a punch or a combination, and counter with a sharp, strong right hand, and then just repeat, you know. Or in the case of Pacquiao, it was wait for Pacquiao to come in and time him with a body shot, you know, and just get back to circling. Sometimes he has that sparring partner mentality where he's just reluctant to be first and mount a true offense. Now, this may be because the kid just simply lacks IQ, fast decision making, and creativity. That's why he likes to just circle and paw, or throw the jab and wait for the opponent to do something so he can react, because he has no creativity and his mind may or may not work fast enough for him to mount his own offense in a creative and technical manner. He strikes me as a person who is dumb in real life, you know, kind of like, you know how like we have the word airhead, we think of like a dumb blonde, you know. Well, he's like the Mexican version of a dumb blonde, and that's the kind of guy he strikes me as, like a beach bum surfer. I don't know. When you hear him talk, you could tell he's not really like a smart person, that his mind works slow. So I think that's why he has the style that he has, and I think that's why he has problems taking over fights, because his brain doesn't work quick enough for him to put offense together, and he lacks creativity. He doesn't have creativity. Remember when, for example, when Canelo used to drop those sick ass combinations to the body and head, and be able to, duck and dodge counter punches at the same time. Like your brain has to be able to work at a certain speed for you to even have the potential to pull stuff like that off. Anyway, aside from that, he seems like he's kind of like pretty solid across the board when it comes to like he doesn't have any glaring weaknesses. He's just not. His weaknesses come in the fact that he has slight deficit in certain categories, like we just mentioned. Um, he always comes in great condition. His technique is good. He has clean technique, throws good straight punches, and his hooks too. So anyway, let's move on to, before we move on to Ryan, I have to say that his best performance was against Yordenis Ugas, who was clearly on the downside of his career, but nevertheless a former welterweight world champion. And he did get knocked out in back-to-back against Tank Davis, who was coming up in weight, but we later found out that Barrios had a rehydration clause going into that fight, and it was his last fight at 140. He also lost in his very next fight after that against Keith Thurman in a decision loss, but he is coming off of back-to-back draws against Manny Pacquiao and Ramos, and those are his two title defenses that he has had of his WBC welterweight title thus far. So he's looking to put a real stamp on his title reign by getting a win over Ryan Garcia, who is a big name, of course. So let's move on to Ryan. Ryan is a guy that I've been watching since he was a prospect. Very exciting fighter, very fast hands, great left hook, good height. However, in a lot of ways, he just has a lot of holes in his game. A lot of holes. He's naturally very gifted. Some people like to use the word talented. I don't know about all that. But he's definitely has some gifts, especially that left hook. And his gifts have allowed him to get this far in his professional career without actually learning and mastering a lot of the fundamentals. Things like standing too straight up, not bending your knees properly, or just basic things, But with that said, I think in a lot of ways he's also underrated. His IQ is not as low as a lot of people like to make it seem to be, all right? He is very good at what he does when it comes to setting up that left hook and landing it, which he manages to do on pretty much almost everybody except for Tank Davis, who defensively is very good. He's back training with his father again as the head coach. And we could expect to see the Ryan that we used to see when he was coming up at 130, when probing with that jab and waiting for his opponent to make a mistake or rush in recklessly and just time that left hook. That's what we could expect from him. However, judging by what I've seen in training, he's looking very strong, very explosive, and very sharp, and arguably the best that I have seen leading up to a fight. His best win is against Luke Campbell, who he beat. I was in attendance for that fight. It took place in Texas around COVID, and he stopped him with a beautiful body shot. However, we could take a lot from that fight because Luke Campbell is a tall fighter like Mario Barrios is, and it's one of the few fighters with a similar dimension. And in that fight, the height was giving Ryan some problems, and before the knockout came, it was even, or if anything, Luke Campbell might have been slightly, ahead. That's another thing. This is going to be one of the few times where Ryan's going to be in with a taller opponent. And Mario, something I forgot to mention that's very important is he's very consistent throughout the fight. There's not up and down with him. His conditioning is going to last, and he's going to do his thing and stay competitive consistently throughout the fight. Ryan a lot of times likes to fight in spurts, and guys in good fitness and condition could take advantage over that when he goes through those physical lapses, like he did in the Devin Haney fight, when Ryan wasn't knocking Haney down on the ground. He was losing on points or taking breaks, because he didn't come in the best physical condition going into that fight. Now, I expect him to be in great physical condition going into this fight. He looks like he's in good condition. He looks like he's training hard, but we won't know for sure until fight night. And let's move on. Let's move on to the prediction. And look, before I go any further, I have to say that this was a very, very, very hard fight for me to pick and make a decision on. That's why I kind of gave it to you guys a little later than I wanted to. But the thing is, much like the Luke Campbell fight, things were arguably going seemingly okay for Luke until they weren't. We have to trust Mario Barrios to not just be competitive, but to actually do enough to win throughout the 12 rounds. And also not get knocked out, which he has before. Tank Davis knocked him out at 140. So we have to trust that he makes the distance, and not just makes the distance against a lethal puncher, but does more than enough to stay competitive, which is what he loves to do. He loves to just do enough to stay competitive. He doesn't like to take initiative. I have to go with Ryan, because even if things are going well or seemingly going well, Ryan is very explosive, he's very strong, he packs a great punch, he's looking in great shape right now, and there's going to be at least a time or two when he just explodes or catches Mario with a shot that he can't take, and Mario's going to either take a knee, get knocked down, or get knocked out. Devin Haney fight, another great example. Things were seemingly going well in many parts of the fight for Devin Haney until they weren't again. Before you knew it, he was on the canvas again after schooling Ryan for a few rounds. And this time around, we're going to get a much better Ryan than we did in the Haney fight, in my opinion. And as tough as Mario is, he's not the Terminator. We've seen him go down. He's been knocked out before. He's just... Ryan is going to take initiative. He's going to try to take initiative. And at least a few of the times when he does, he's going to catch Mario with something big that he can't fucking take. And because of that, I'm picking Ryan Garcia for the win. Whether it's by knockout or by decision. He's just too explosive and punches too hard for Mario Barrios throughout a 12-round fight. So there you have it, folks. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you already haven't done so. And y'all have a great weekend and you enjoy the fights. Peace.